Open world RPGs are some of the most popular games in the entire world, and that's thanks to the insane level of detail. There's an extensive replay value to them, and often fantastic stories that come with it. I mean, games like The Witcher 3, Fallout New Vegas, they have set the bar and the standard for the genre, but there are plenty of upcoming titles that may actually give them a run for their money. What is up, everybody? Chaos here, and today we're going to go over some of the most anticipated upcoming open-world RPGs that could end up being your new favorite. So, let me know in the comments which of these you're the most excited for. Drop a like, and let's start off with Final Fantasy 16. Am I still allowed to make fun of the game's title? Are you guys going to get mad at me, or is that joke too overused? I mean, you have to admit, Final Fantasy 16 is just a funny title on its own, but I digress. After a long wait, FF16, it's like Fast and Furious 10, it's finally set for release on the PS5 next year, and after the massive success of the 15th final game, this one's going to be a huge hit. The game is set in the world of Valistia, where the 6 major factions are on the verge of a massive deadly conflict, and it's up to you and your party to travel around and try to be diplomatic, prevent it from happening, all while getting to the bottom of whatever forces are trying to push that conflict into existence. Now, Square Enix has kept quiet about the gameplay or what type it's going to be in this and what it's going to feature, but, I mean, the franchise varies. I really don't know what to expect. The game is expected to be a timed PS5 exclusive before getting a PC and possible Xbox launch somewhere down the line, so get your machines ready, because Final Fantasy 16 is expected to launch in quarter 2 or 3 of next year. I mean, will this one actually be the Final Fantasy Hogwarts Legacy? Despite being delayed again, it's easily the most hyped piece of Harry Potter media to come out in a while. The final Harry Potter movie hit theaters in 2011. While the Fantastic Beasts movies, I guess they were a nice distraction, they did not hit the same heights as the main story. Legacy? Whew! Yeah, I mean, it's the Harry Potter RPG we've been waiting decades for, and it seems like no matter how many times it gets delayed, that hype does not fizzle. You'll play as a new student at the legendary Wizarding Academy in a story set about 100 years before the events of the Sorcerer's Stone. You'll meet a ton of new characters, you'll witness the origins of various world events, and you'll learn about the school for yourself. Hogwarts Legacy is currently set to launch in February of next year, assuming it doesn't get delayed again, and it will launch on both the 8th and the 9th generation console, so nobody is going to miss out on this long-awaited adventure. Untitled From Software game. That's number 8. From Software completely changed the way we look at action RPGs. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring. This studio, it doesn't miss. Following the monumental success of Elden Ring, you would think they were going to take a few years off to celebrate. No. Back in July of this year, representatives confirmed that their next game is almost finished, but they declined to reveal what the game is. Now, granted, this doesn't mean the game is coming out this year. In fact, I wouldn't expect it to launch until late 2023 at the earliest, but fans have been digging around the internet for clues as to what the game could be. Is it Bloodborne 2? Is it Dark Souls 4? Or perhaps they're going to take us by surprise and release Armored Core 6. No matter what it is, I mean, they're going to take the gaming world by storm again when they finally decide to announce their next project. And since the studio themselves have already said the game is almost done, I think we can expect a new FromSoft experience in 2023. Forspoken. Now, the dialogue has been heavily criticized. The gameplay and the story of Forspoken seem top-notch. I'm excited. You play as a young woman from New York City, finds herself transported to this fantasy world where she's given access to incredible powers that she can use in combat or to traverse the world. As you progress through the game, you'll learn new abilities. You'll find faster ways to get around the map, as precise and speedy transport is one of the main draws of the gameplay. Now, Square Enix really wants this to be the next big thing in action RPGs, and the game is expected to launch on the PS5 and the PC early next year. Let's just hope that the devs take the internet's feedback to heart and rewrite some of the dialogue, because the stuff we heard in the most recent trailer, it wasn't the best. Gameplay looks great, graphics are beautiful, dialogue needs a little extra polish, which that's probably one of the easiest things that they could do. Dragon Quest XII. This one's interesting. Dragon Quest has been around for a long time. It's known for its colorful art style. It's got engaging gameplay, and it's relatively family-friendly. But the upcoming 12th game is being described as Dragon Quest for adults due to darker themes and more mature storytelling, although it's a tad unclear what exactly that means. The game is currently in development. It's being powered by the Unreal Engine 5, so you can expect an absolutely breathtaking experience, and they're not going to spare any expense. I'm excited. I was never super into Dragon Quest at all as a franchise, but I know a ton of people who adore it, and the whole Dragon Quest for adults concept, it has me intrigued. After 11 games, maybe it's time for Dragon Quest to grow with its audience, and if you were previously pushed away from the series by the colorful art style, maybe this is the game that gets you in. There's no release date confirmed for it yet, but since DQ11 dropped all the way back in 2017, I don't think we're going to have to wait too much longer. At number 5 today, The Witcher 4. Now, the new Witcher game doesn't have an official title or story to speak of yet, but the legacy of the franchise is enough to get me on the hype train. Following the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk, a lot of people thought CD Projekt Red was going to tap out of the industry or maybe lay low for a few years until people forgot them, but it seems that Polish studio has other plans. They've been pumping out the patches for Cyberpunk, and they're hyping up their next gen version of Witcher 3. But what none of us were expecting was the announcement of a new Witcher game entering development earlier this year. They didn't call it Witcher 4, but the community has insisted on calling that, and I'm okay with it. It's unlikely that Geralt will be the main character unless it's a prequel, and since they've already had 3 games starring him, I kind of think we're going to go in a new direction, but we'll see. Perhaps we'll play as a custom Witcher and make our own story, or maybe the new game will be about his daughter as she follows in her father's footsteps. Regardless, it has huge shoes to fill, and while it's probably still another 2 to 4 years out, I'm ready for it. Another one I'm ready for is Fable. Rumors of the reboot started circulating the internet back in 2018, and 2 years later, the game was confirmed, currently just called Fable. The new open-world fantasy RPG will be a top-to-bottom reboot of the original trilogy. I love it. Even if the original game was a tad overhyped, it was a great experience. It helped define the original Xbox. Fable 1 and 2 are largely responsible for solidifying Microsoft as a main competitor in the gaming ecosystem, and it proved that they were capable of supplying more great games than just Halo. Now, it didn't hit the same heights as other RPGs of the early 2000s, like Oblivion and Knights of the Old Republic, but it has a passionate following in the studio handling the reboot. It's very capable. Plus, it's being built on the Forza engine, so it's probably going to be one of the best-looking RPGs ever made. Now, we don't have an expected release date for it yet. My guess is late 2023 to early 2024, and hopefully we get some official news now. Since the trailer dropped almost 2 years ago, it's time for them to update us. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the remake. Now, it's one of the greatest sci-fi RPGs ever made. Released all the way back in 2003, developed by BioWare, KOTOR told the story of the Star Wars universe long before the movies took place, and it fleshed it out. It was announced a while back that a full remake was in development at Aspyr, but we had drama. They got kicked off of it, and now somebody else is on it. There's also rumors that the gameplay is going to be updated to better fit with modern action games, and I'm good with it. I'm suspicious when remakes start changing the original gameplay, but I think we can all agree the original KOTOR's gameplay is dated. There's no release date. It's been pushed back. You probably won't get this until 2025, but eventually it'll be here. Speaking of eventually, Elder Scrolls 6. It was announced 4.5 years ago. It's been in development for almost 4 years, but according to insider reports, it's still a few years away. Now, apparently Bethesda has been waiting until Starfield has gone gold to really start pushing the pedal on ES6, but it's been in the early stages of production for a long time, meaning things should chug along once the studio gives it its attention. The last mainline Elder Scrolls game was Skyrim, and I mean, that game has become a meme due to the number of re-releases, but there's no denying its quality. Skyrim is one of the most important games of its time, and since it's sold over 20 million copies, it's safe to say the sequel will be a smash. Now, very little is known about Elder Scrolls 6 right now, but I'm still completely on board. If Starfield ends up being great, which I think it could be, I can only imagine ES6 is probably going to blow us away. And speaking of Bethesda, we segue into number 1 today, Starfield. Bethesda has been doing their best to keep us interested in their latest attempt to recapture the glory days of Skyrim, but this time, they got it. It's been in development for what seems like ages. It's been delayed a number of times. It seems like we're finally going to get our hands on it early next year. Sci-fi RPG described by the developer as Skyrim in space, although that's not uncommon for Bethesda. Remember when Fallout New Vegas was Skyrim with guns? Remember when Elder Scrolls Online was Skyrim with multiplayer? Regardless, Starfield actually looks promising, and it seems like an all-hands-on-deck production. The world building, the storytelling, it was handled by Bethesda's A team, but the gunplay and the combat was reportedly assisted on by the Doom Eternal team, which is, that's a thumbs up. The game world looks massive. The gameplay looks fun. It'll be pretty awesome to see Bethesda get way out of their comfort zone with a far, far future sci-fi game like this, and it may be worth the wait. There you have it. Those are upcoming open-world RPGs that are probably going to get your money. Let me know one we didn't talk about,